This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, good morning. Today is Wednesday, November 15th, and it is definitely we're at a time of real estate transition, and we are all seeing it on a daily basis right now. And probably one of the biggest questions a lot of people that we're working with will ask us, what's going to happen with mortgage rates? Are they going to keep rising? And while we have no crystal ball to say for sure on anything, and we are not in a position to impact mortgage rates ourselves, we can just follow what the experts say and what is the policy in the federal government concerning interest rates. So if you look at this chart, this is really eye-opening. You go back to January of this year when interest rates were at 3.22%. And where they were as of the beginning of November at 6.95%. They have gone up tremendously. This is from Freddie Mac. And again, if you look at it from this perspective, it's been a huge impact on our business, a huge impact for buyers and for sellers for that matter too. People who are trying to sell their home, starting to think about, okay, I'm going to sell my home and I have a 3% interest rate. What am I going to have on my replacement property? Because I can't pay cash for my replacement property. Should I even list to begin with? So that's impacting us from a lot of different perspectives. So let's take a look at this. The US 30-year fixed mortgage rates have increased 3.83 percentage points since the end of last year. And that's the biggest year-over-year, year-to-date increase in rates in over 50 years. 50 years. I mean, I can remember 50 years ago, but I was definitely not in the market to buy a home 50 years ago. I was pretty young at that point. So it is something to think about. This has been almost like turn the brakes on because of the impact this rapid increase has made on our market. It's huge. And so with inflation still running at a 40-year high and the Fed expecting a few more rate increases to combat it, mortgage rates will experience upward pressure through the end of 2022. That's the expectation of an awful lot of people. So, and again, that's coming from Realtor.com. So we are looking at this, what's going to happen through the end of 2022. And then we're going to look at what the experts are saying for 2023. So while mortgage rates are expected to continue to drift higher over the coming months, much of the rapid increase in rates is likely behind us. And this is from First American. This economist here, Mark Fleming, seems to really know what he's talking about. He follows the trends a lot. These are what economists do. They look at market trends, they look at things, and they come up with their expectations. And all he can do is extrapolate the data. But thinking that the huge increase has happened, we may see more, but hopefully the rapid increase is behind us. So here's another big question. Where are we with the recession now? It used to be the definition of recession was 2 quarters in a row with negative growth. That kind of turned on its head a little bit this year. But if you look at what the Wall Street Journal Economist Survey says, what's the chances of recession in the next 12 months? And so from January of this year, 18% of these economists said, yeah, I think so. Versus now, October, 63% of these Wall Street economists say, yeah, there is a chance of recession in the next 12 months. It is more likely than not, according to these economists. And you kind of think about the Wall Street Journal, you think that the economists that they work with are probably those who are really up on what's happening in the market. However, recognize that a recession does not mean falling prices. We've used this chart before. It talks about what happens during the last 6 recessions that we've had within this country. Back in the 1980s, home prices still went up. 1981, home prices still went up. 1991, they did have a short decrease. 2001, home prices went up. The big one, of course, was 2008, where we had 19.7% decrease. That recession, of course, was caused by the housing crisis in which we had no-doc loans and people encouraged to purchase homes who did not qualify, who had no means of actually paying their bills. So that recession was caused by housing. And again, that was one in which home prices did adjust tremendously. But the last recession, the COVID recession of 2020, we know what happened there. Prices definitely went up, and they have continued to go up. So again, even though economists are predicting a recession coming up, it does not necessarily mean we're going to have home prices fall. So, however, something else to look at is a recession does mean falling mortgage rates. Historically, the last 6 recessions, looking at these same recessions before, mortgage rates have fallen. So something to think about here. If home prices may continue up, we don't know that for sure. Does it mean a recession will lead to falling mortgage rates? And yes, that is traditionally what has happened. So something to think about. And when you talk with your clients, something to share with them. So what are experts saying about home prices? Now this is really interesting to look at. For those bearish folks eagerly awaiting the home price crash, you'll have to keep waiting. As much as demand is pulling back supply, is as well reducing downward pressure on prices in the short run. So demand is pulling back, but supply is as well. And that's true in our local market too. We'll look at that data in just a little bit. But we have fewer listings coming on the market. We have increased inventory, but still not at the level which would trigger a home price crash. So let's take a look at that. This is the prediction as of the latest forecast. This was as of earlier in this week from these different experts on home pricing forecasts for 2023. So the Home Price Expectation Survey, it's a conglomerate of a lot of experts. They predict that home prices are going to continue to go up in 2023 of 2.6%. NAR thinks they'll go up 1.2%. The Mortgage Bankers Association is just slightly over 0.5 point, but Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and the most bearish person is Ivy Zelman, another expert in this who follows this a lot. They think home prices, so it's a mixed bag. What's going to happen in 2023? If you take a conglomerate of all of them, it should be a slight decrease, but who knows for sure? Again, this is, the further out you go on any sort of expectation, just like the weather. I mean, you can predict maybe tomorrow's weather, but can you predict 2 months from now? Who knows? The big banks, however, are calling for home prices to depreciate next year. So Goldman Sachs 5 to 10%, Wells Fargo 5%, Moody's 5 to 10%, and Morgan Stanley 3% depreciation. That's their expectation. Now, if you think about the big banks, who do they actually finance? There's typically larger developers. We're talking of maybe some large-scale subdivisions, things like that. They're not necessarily our local hometown banks. So this is a conglomerate across the country, and every market we know is unique and different. But these are what the big banks are calling for next year. Something to think about here too. Wells Fargo, however, is looking at 2023 and 2024, and they predict in 2023 home prices across the country will drop about 5.5%. But they predict in 2024 home prices will go back up to 3.1%. So, and again, 3-4% increase per year, that is a normal trend that we have seen across the country for many, many, many years. Home prices typically will go up 3 to 4% per year. So that's what Wells Fargo is predicting. And so from Freddie Mac, while there may be a little statistical difference between a small positive number and a small negative number, there are often huge differences in how they may impact behavior, and that is so true. When we are talking about real estate, we're talking about people, and people will look at trends and they can be, well, things are going down. There's a lot of emotion impacting real estate transactions, as we know, especially when people are buying and selling their home. Maybe less so with commercial, but a positive versus a negative can make a huge difference on how people react. We all know that, human nature. So if we look at home price appreciation for 2006 through 2013. If you look at the time frame of the Great Recession, the housing recession, we had home prices in a depreciation mode for 5 years between 2007 and 2011. I remember it was, I think, January of 2011, in which we had the lowest point in our local market here in Bend. That was like the lowest price point that we had during the recession. Then everything started to recover. So when you look at this, we had 5 years of home price depreciation. You look at what Wells Fargo said, 1 year. So no one's predicting a huge market crash like what we had during the housing crisis. No one's predicting that. So let's think about foreclosures. What about foreclosures? What's going to happen with those? Here is the foreclosure activity by year. And this is coming from a company called Adam Data Solutions. They track statistics. They do a lot of real estate statistics along with other industries as well, but they're kind of an expert in following a lot of the data here. So if we look at what happens with foreclosures, going back to 2005, it's normal in the country to have between 400 and 500,000 foreclosures per year. That's normal. It's unfortunate for the people who are having to deal with that. It is always a tragedy for them, but that is kind of a normal range for us. Of course, what happened in 2007 through 2011, 2012, the housing crisis, when everything crashed and we had so many people who were dealing with foreclosures. It became, our market was driven by REO properties, short sales, all kinds of things. We had so many. The red, of course, is those properties, over 1 million of foreclosures that we had. And then things recovered in the mid-2016, 2017. And again, with 2020, 2021, remember the moratorium on foreclosures? We have people in forbearance, but there was no one could do that. So this was during the COVID thing. This is where foreclosures are. So for people who are looking, well, because we've overstimulated, when's everything going to crash? When are we going to experience the what we had back in 2008? If you have buyers who are waiting for everything to crash like that, that's not happening. It's just not there. So the rate has continued to go down. So think about the actual numbers. We're now out of the forbearance issues in which people are the foreclosure moratorium. We're out of that now. But only 214,800 homeowners were facing possible foreclosure in the second quarter of 2022, or just 0.4% of the 58.2 million outstanding mortgages in the United States. And of those facing foreclosure, about 195,400, or 91%, had at least some equity built up in their homes. So think about that. 0.4% of all homes in the United States are facing foreclosure. That's almost statistically non-existent. It's less than half a percentage point. If you think about it, of 100 homes, 0.4 is actually in the process of facing foreclosure. Of those, 91% of them have equity, which means that those people could be approached to sell their home, pay off their mortgage, and walk away with money in their pocket. So we are nowhere near that housing crisis foreclosure situation that we had back in 2008, 2009, 10, 11. It's just not there. It's not our market. Again, reiterating that from Adam Data. So anyone waiting for a huge foreclosure wave will probably be disappointed by this report from Adam Data. Foreclosure activity was flat Q1 to Q2, and foreclosure starts dropped slightly from August to September. Just not there. So when you see headlines this, U.S. foreclosure activity continues to increase quarterly, nearing pre-pandemic levels. Recognize that headlines like this, though statistically accurate, though they are potentially accurate pre-pandemic levels, it doesn't mean it's like the housing crisis. So if people are seeing something like this, if you're talking to people, let them understand that we are not in that market that we were at that point in time. So let's go into inventory. What's up with inventory? Oh my goodness. So as the rapid run-up in rates reshapes housing market dynamics this fall, both buyers and sellers are taking a step back to recalibrate their plans. Home shoppers are looking at a monthly mortgage payment that is roughly 1,000 times higher than it was, $1,000 higher than it was at this time last year. And incomes are rising, but not by that much. So let's think about where we are in our market. So this is homes that are actively for sale. So if you look at this going back to 2017, 2018, and 2019, these are pre-pandemic times. These are all the gray, the light blue, and the brighter blue. This is our normal market trends. This is active listings counts in thousands. So going up during the summer months, dropping off during the holidays. Of course, then we have 2020, where the market was already a little bit lower in inventory moving into the beginning of the year. And then, of course, when the pandemic hit and all of a sudden everyone started buying homes, moving out from the larger cities into more rural areas, buying property because if they're going to have to work from home and have their kids at home, doing school from home, they needed a home that fit their lifestyle. We saw massive increases. And of course, inventory levels just dropped off and dropped off. That's the orange line here. 2021, we still never recovered from that. We were still at a dearth of inventory. And we had a slight increase in listings as we normally would do in June, July, August, but again, nowhere near the pre-pandemic levels. And again, the drop off. The start of here, 2022, we were even more desperate, even lower in the numbers starting off the year. And then, of course, in April and May, that's when interest rates started coming up. And as interest rates started coming up, listings started rising, higher levels than we were before 2021, and now back to above 2020, but nowhere near to the pre-pandemic levels. So we still have a deficit in listings to meet demand. So something to seriously look at and to think about and to share with your clients. So we have 33.5% more listings than we had year over year from 2022 to 2021, but nowhere near where we were pre-pandemic. And even in pre-pandemic times, we were still in a seller's market. So despite this improvement in the number of homes actively for sale, active listings still lag their pre-pandemic levels. The number of homes actively for sale in October was 40.4% lower than the pre-pandemic 2017-2018 average. So 40% less homes than we had pre-pandemic. So yes, we have more inventory, but not as much as we had before the pandemic. So new listings, a measure of sellers putting homes up for sale, were again down, dropping 13% from 1 year ago. This week marks the 16th straight week of year-over-year declines in the number of new listings coming up for sale. We have sellers not putting up their homes for sale. We see this in our market. We have sellers who didn't sell who are pulling their homes off the market. We have people who are saying, well, again, the mindset here is, yeah, I can sell my home, but my interest rate that I have right now is so good. Why would I sell it and get an interest rate that's twice as much as what I have right now? So unless people are needing to move out of the area for economic reason or a lifestyle reason or some reason that they need to sell, we have sellers not listing the way they normally would, even at this time of the year. So new listings now below previous years. Again, the red line is 2022. We look at 2017, 2018, and 2019. So these are new listings. The other chart was all listings. This is new listings. Again, we have a real deficit of listings coming into the holidays. People do not put their homes on the market. But again, if you look at where we are here, compared with what we were like over all these other years, way, way, way below. We're 15.9% year over year below what we were in 2021. And that was, you know, still low too. So new listings not coming on the market. So homes actively for sale continue to increase. So homes days on market are increasing, homes sitting are increasing, but new listings are falling down. So here's the active listings going up, new listings coming down. But housing supply is still historically low. So if you look at this chart here, it shows that the same week, the number of listings we have right now on the market compared with the same week in 2021, we're at 43.5% more. Compared with the same week in 2020, we're 8.5% more. But compared with the same week in 2019, pre-pandemic, we're 36% below. Again, this is national trends. So housing supply is still historically low. There's still this gap between demand and supply because we were underbuilding for many years. Not enough new inventory was built. So now we see demand is slowing, but it still outpaces supply. Buyers are still out there and willing to buy when they find the right home at the right price, which will provide a floor for the price declines we are currently seeing. But sellers need to do things right to attract the attention of these buyers, pricing their home competitively and making their listing attractive to online home shoppers. Again, it comes down to, for sellers who want to sell, you've got to price according to today's market and make your home look as great as possible. Make sure your photos are great, making sure you are putting your best foot forward in order to sell your property. So here comes another question for a lot of our home buyers. Should I buy a home right now? No, that's a big question. Should I wait? What's the difference between buying a home and waiting? It's rent. If you aren't buying, if you don't own a home, you're paying rent. And look at what's happened. We've shown this chart before too. Now this has been extrapolated to include Q3 of 2022, and look at what's happening to the median asking rent since 1988. Rent is through the roof, and whenever you're paying a rent, you are paying someone else's mortgage. So I look at this and I'm like, yeah, we understand that. Why should you be renting when you could be buying and building equity into yourself, building wealth for yourself? If you can qualify for a loan, we need to be putting you into a home. And if you find a home that meets your financial expectations for a monthly payment, and it is a good time for you to buy, then do that. And if you wait for prices to fall, but they never do, you may discover the hard way that the house that you found a year ago that you really loved, that you could afford, but you passed up on, is more expensive next year. And that's the truth. In the absence of trustworthy, up-to-date information, real estate decisions are increasingly being driven by fear, uncertainty, and doubt. These decisions can be hugely consequential for consumers and businesses. Does anyone have any comments or questions about this before we get into our local market? Any thoughts? I've covered a lot of stuff in here, but this is the reality of what we're dealing with. We still have a huge absence of inventory. We're missing that, and we have people who are like scared. We have people who are wondering what they should do. There is a lot of concern. So let me get into our local stuff here. Come on, get out. Here we go. Get rid of that one and pull up this one. So I wanted to start with this. This is something Brad and I were talking about this morning, and we did some Brad did this. He put this together, helped me with this. And I haven't verified the figures, but I do want to take a look at this. And this is some tool that you could potentially use with your clients. So say they wanted to buy a $500,000 home in Bend. So we know they wanted to buy it back in April versus now, versus today. So the sales price for a $500,000 home in Bend in April, earlier this year, would probably have been bid up. We were kind of at that transitional time, but we were still having a lot of demand for a $500,000 home in Bend in April. So the $500,000 home in Bend probably got bid up to $550,000, thinking hypothetically about it. Whereas the $500,000 home in Bend in this year, right now, November, you could probably come in below $500,000. Remember, last year, the asking price was the bottom of the price. That was the starting price, and things were bid up. Now, the sales price is probably the top, the asking price, I should say, excuse me. So you could probably come in at lower than $500,000, especially if that home has been sitting on the market at all. Now, back in April, a 30-year fixed interest rate was at 5.37%. That was from Mortgage News Daily. Today, a 30-year fixed loan is at 6.65%, according to Mortgage News Daily. I know we got up over 7% according to Freddie Mac, but this is from Mortgage News Daily. Both of them have 10% down. And in both scenarios, the monthly mortgage payment is about the same. So think about this when you're working with your clients and they say, well, I just need to wait until interest rates go down. Again, thinking about your option instead is renting, paying someone else's payment, and then versus having your home yourself. Can you afford an interest rate of 6.65%? Say they qualify. Your home that you're looking at, $500,000. What is a $500,000 home in Bend today versus what it was in April? It's probably a superior home. It probably has more upgrades. It's probably a better property than it was back in April. You're also got a seller who's willing to sell and willing to negotiate on a sales price. Also, when you come to repairs, they're probably willing to negotiate on repairs. So whereas in April, you may not have been able to negotiate on repairs because the seller would have said, take it or leave it. And if you leave it, I have other buyers who are willing to step right in there. So you were bidding the home up. You were basically giving away things, maybe waiving the appraisal or paying the appraisal gap, all that sort of stuff. Nowadays, it's negotiation. And the payment now, given this scenario, is the same. So we know there's more opportunities now than there was 6 months ago, a year ago, for a buyer to really negotiate and get a great home at a price they can afford and potentially get some other things thrown in. In fact, if you are on the email list of a number of builders, you are probably starting to see some significant changes in builders. Builders are willing now to negotiate. They are willing to throw in upgrades. They're willing to do buy downs on your mortgage interest rate. They're willing to, you say you want appliances, you want a washer and dryer, you want a fenced yard. They are willing to give you an awful lot of stuff that they weren't willing to give you just 6 months ago. We are seeing these things. I'm also seeing things such as commission incentives, whereas these builders were getting a 2% commission. Now they're saying, bring us a buyer. By the way, buyer's agent, you'll get a 3% commission. Now, we know we're not supposed to shop based upon or represent our buyers based upon commission, but it's a nice little added perk for us to have that added commission thrown in as well. Builders who are sitting on inventory are seeing what's happening in the market. They do not want to sit on this over the winter. They want to move their inventory. So if you have a buyer who's interested in purchasing a new home, have that in the back of your head and talk to the listing agent and say, are you willing? Is this builder willing to actually do some negotiation? Are they willing to give my client some upgrades? Are they willing to help us with some stuff here? Pay some of our closing costs. don't necessarily want to reduce the sales price, though some builders have reduced sales price across the board. Anyway, it's something to think about. So this is where we were as a brokerage from October of 22 versus October of 2021. We're all seeing this. We had the same number of new listings, no change in that. The volume of our listings, almost $2 million higher, over $2 million higher. So we're still listing more expensive property. Pendings, though, are down 31% over what they were the year before, which is what we're seeing across the board right now. And close, we're down 50% over what we were a year ago. And that is the market right now. Year-to-date figure, we are still up. We're still a little bit down because beginning of the year, things were selling very quickly. We have fewer sales than we had. Again, that's happening to everybody, however. So if you look at the market summary, this is pulled off of MLS, and you look at the number of listings that we've hit. Number of new listings, active listings, definitely much higher. New listings not coming on the market. We're dropping off like we do historically. And then sold listings. We're kind of dropping off on that. Listing prices are kind of flat now. There's some differences, but again, you look at the median list price, the sold list price, where are we with the absorption rate? We have 2.5 months of supply. Now, sold to list ratio. We're below. Remember, we got up over 102, 104% of asking price. We're now below. We're back down to about 94, 94.5%. So people are willing to negotiate. Sellers are willing to take less than asking price. Days in market are definitely creeping up there. And new listing price volume is dropped off. When you look at this last slide right here, October of 2022 versus October of 2020 for BIN single family residential sales. Took this right from MLS. So active listings were up 35% compared with a year ago, same month. New listings were down 23%. Now that follows the same thing they're seeing, the trend across the country. Active listings are up, new listings are down. So homes are sitting longer. New pendings down almost 41%. So we have pendings down 41%, solds down 26%, sold volume down 21%. But still, compared to what the figures were the same month a year ago, sales price is up 6.4% for the average, median sales price up 4.4%. Percentage of list price is down 2.3%, and months of inventory is up 58%. So we still, remember, a balanced market is 6 months of inventory. We still have 2 months supply of inventory. We still are in a seller's market. Home prices are still going up, but with this amount of change to the market, I'm going to anticipate that our home prices, the average sales price, will drop. In fact, if you look at, let me get out of this. If you look at this chart right here, I pulled this up here. Oh, here it is. This is InfoSparks in MLS, and this is the median sales price for a BIN home, single family, less than an acre. The high in the market was up here in March at $775,000 for a single family BIN home on less than an acre. That was the median sales price. And since that point in time, there was a little peak, another peak back in July, but now the median sales price for a BIN home is $680,000. Now, compared with what it was a year ago, it's still higher. But if this trend continues on, we'll get to a point in which, if we compare our apples to apples from a year before, our home prices will be down over that point in time. So when you're talking to your sellers and they're talking about listing a home, recognize they cannot be listing their home based upon what values were back in April and May and July. Again, if you look at average sales price, it's a little different. Median is a better indicator because that kind of takes out the anomalies of those really high price homes. That is kind of where our market is, and it's something to discuss with your clients when you're working with them. It's really significant, and just help them be educated about what's happening in the market. If you have buyers who are on the fence, encourage them right now, even with interest rates up. Say, look, what you could have bought last year with, half the interest rate was not much of a home compared with what you can get now. So that $500,000 home that's now on the market, it's probably a nicer home. That $700,000 home is probably a better home than what it was all that time ago. Plus, if you have a seller who's been on the market for a period of time, they're probably getting anxious to sell, and they're willing to negotiate that price. Probably willing to negotiate repairs. Probably willing to maybe even do some contribution to your closing costs. You don't know until you actually write it up. So encouraging your clients, encouraging your buyers to seriously look at what's happening here and not be put off by the interest rates, especially if they do qualify for loan, because when interest rates do drop, and they probably will again in the future, they can always refi at that point. Remember when we used to do that? Every time the interest rate dropped a point, all of a sudden we have a new mass of people who would be refinancing their home. We haven't done that since interest rates have been so low, but this is what can be done, and I know there are opportunities out there. We are sitting on some really good homes right now. There's some great inventory out there just waiting for buyers. So with that, I'd like to open this up to anybody else who may have comments or questions or concerns and want to share some stuff. Haves or wants, any activity, anything that you want to be talking about? Anybody? Eric?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I find it interesting when you were showing the stats between our office and the trends in Central Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
I found it interesting that our office is doing better on the dollar volume than the average. We're way up. We're like 13% better than the average office out there in what we're selling our homes for. So yeah, our numbers are down, but our dollar volume is 13% better than the average.
Yeah, we're selling more. We our listings are even compared, as opposed to the the rest of the area in which people have listings that are definitely down. So let me pull that up again. Let me go back here to this chart here. Yeah, so the pendings for us were down 31%, as opposed to pendings down 41%, statistically speaking. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Eric. Yeah.
Yeah, very encouraging.
Yeah, we're doing, even though it feels so different, because we were kind of almost at a frenzy for 2 years with all the multiple offers. I mean, we'd had some listings that would pull in 10 offers, building those prices up. And then for people who are working with buyers, they had written 4, 5, 6 offers before we actually got something in contract. There was just so much work that happened before we had a sale. It was still amazing. Closed, yeah, here. This is down 50%. For us, we are, we're down 50%. Statistically here, other people are down 26%. So closed, yeah, but it's the pendings that I'm looking at too. That's future business.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other comments or haves or wants for people?
Hi, Linnea. I have a want.
Yeah.
This is Diane Luzito. So
Hi,
I have a
Diane.
client looking for a second home in Bend. She wants to be in Old Bend or downtown, not a townhouse. That's her second choice. She prefers a small place with a yard. So again, it's a second home, so she doesn't want it to be too large, and she can pay up to $1 million. And she's looking right away. So if anybody has anything coming up, please let me know. And then secondly, I had a thought for people on floor to get new business for listings. If we could put our flyers out there and have a big banner on the upper left corner that says sold, and put out those higher end sales we just had. I had one yesterday, and if it said sold, and if a seller saw this pretty house that just sold for $1.3 million with your office, they might be more inclined to trust the person on the floor with their listing. It's just an idea.
Sure. That's a good idea, Diane. We do have our flyers in the windows that do say sold, but you're thinking of maybe putting them on a more prominent, like a whole window of those with a higher end?
Or just a bigger banner, because I had lunch with a client the other day and she parked on Minnesota. So when we parted ways, I saw her walk over to one of the other real estate agencies and start looking at all their flyers in the window. And it made me realize we have a lot of flyers, but if I'm walking by in a hurry, I think the sold banners have to stand out more prominently.
So maybe making something, thank you for that. That's a good marketing suggestion. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
We were down in Livermore, California, down in the Silicon Valley for a wedding recently, and we were walking the old town downtown area, which is just alive with shops and restaurants, and there was a couple of real estate offices there, and all they had in their window, I'm not suggesting this, but all they had in their window was their pendings. And they were 1,400 square foot 3.2s on a regular city lot at $1.5 million, $1.3 million, $1.7 million, all of them pending. And it was a real eye opener on, no matter what things are going on, people are still buying houses. And even in that area, they're buying houses at those prices. So I like Diane's idea. There should be a prominent display of pending to combat all this negative news and show people that properties are still selling and we're doing a great job at it.
We are, yeah. That is a great suggestion too. So yeah, maybe putting up here's our solds, our recent solds, here's our current pendings, and here's our new listings. Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe just kind of differentiating that a little bit more. Thank you, good suggestions.
Yeah, excellent. I've got a couple of halves, if I may.
Sure.
We finally have water and sewer getting connected to our new construction on 84 Northwest Portland. It's new construction, a block from the river, 3 blocks to downtown. It is a 2,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, main level master with an ADU, 1-bedroom, 1-bath ADU over the garage. Will be finished by the end of the year and rolling out at $1.6 million for this thing. And it is stunning inside.
Great.
I also have a 5-acre land parcel. I'm sorry?
When can we see that one on Portland?
Anytime now. Let me know.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, if you text or email me, I'll tell you where the key is. It's ready to look at. It's still, they're still trimming out some of the plumbing and electrical and doing the connections, but it's show ready now, and you can get an idea. It is
Perfect.
just a sweet, sweet location. Yeah.
Looks like it. I drive by it every day.
No, I love it. I also have a new coming soon, 5 acres in Terrebonne. It's a level 5 acres, nicely treed with stunning views of the entire Smith Rock Range. The well's been drilled and capped. The power's at the road. It's MUA 10 zoning, but it's 5 acres, just unbelievable Smith Rock views, and we'll be at $425 for that.
Great.
Eric, I might have a buyer for that. What area? Is it off Wilcox or where?
It's on First Street, so it's east of town, and you drop down the hill and turn left on Zenolith or whatever that is, and then go up the hill onto First, and it's right at the top of the hill on the point.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, other things, Danielle, did you have something else? Or Eric, did you have anything else?
Yeah, just to let you know that Southern Oregon real estate is alive and well. We've done 6 deals down here, and I just showed a Shady Cove property yesterday. We got an offer out on that. We showed property in Gold Hill, Grants Pass, Ashland, real estate. And when I'm looking at the 24-hour market watch, we're 50-50 between Central Oregon and Southern Oregon. There's equal amount of new listings and pendings and closings in Southern Oregon. So it's another region that's alive and well. And on average, our price point is about $150,000 to $200,000 for the same home, less down here. So good place to send investors, and we'll take good care of them.
Wonderful. You're our guy there. Great. Thank you, Eric. Anything else, Eric, or
That's it for now.
perfect? Okay, Danielle?
I've had a successful floor time recently where I got, the ideal client, cash buyer from, the heart of San Francisco wanting into our market. And we've been going, I've solidified our relationship pretty good. And we're going back and forth talking about, what the market's going to do and the recession. He's like, prices have got to be falling, maybe I should wait. So the inventory is so low, we haven't been able to find him what he's looking for, but he's ready to go. So, it's really important right now to have that conversation about, it is a good time to buy, and these are all of the reasons. I
Right.
love your data today on this, but, also, we really need that conversation with our buyers, he's a good businessman. He's turned me on to this Harvard Business School book on real estate and an author. But I need to take that next step with him and be a little bit better with my closing and with these numbers. Thank you for these today about why he should buy right now.
Right. And Danielle, what is the price point for your people and what are they actually looking for? Is it cash
This
buyers?
guy, cash buyer, he can spend 2 million, up to 2 million in cash. Above that, he'd have to get a loan, but he doesn't really want to. He doesn't really need to. He fell in love with Starview and he wants a fixer-upper on Starview with all those beautiful views. Beth has a new listing on Starview that's 3.7, and it's, they bought it a year ago at 1.3, and they've done a beautiful remodel, so he wants that project. So if anyone knows of anything with the big mountain views, that's a project home, I've got a cash buyer.
Big mountain views, project home, and wants to be in Bend. Okay.
Wants to be in Bend, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
that was a floor time walk-in. So
Wonderful.
I know.
There's always an opportunity of trying to connect with people who live on that street just by writing letters. And we've had some success doing that. I could think of a couple years ago, one of our brokers had a client who was seriously set on buying in Broken Top and could not find anything that was on the market. And so our agent took it upon herself to write letters to everybody who had a home that was kind of that criteria that they were looking for, and found a seller who's willing to sell. However, the seller said, here's my price, take it or leave it.
Right.
And our buyer tried to negotiate, didn't work. They ended up buying what the seller was willing to sell it for. But it ended up being a win. And they got the home, and so it was it was an
I'm
interesting
writing letters today.
There you go. Very good. Great idea. Thanks, Danielle.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And Francie, you said you have clients who are looking to buy in Fall Creek and Broken Top.
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah, so they are clients that are moving from Arizona, and they know people here in Broken Top. I live in Broken Top, and they know a couple folks that live here, so they really want to live here so they get that instant community. They're in their mid 70s, so they're trying to size down. They preferably want a single level. If it's 2-story, they need 2 bedrooms on the main. Fall Creek tends to be smaller homes than the rest of the custom homes here in Broken Top, so that's the area we're focusing on. Aubrey Glen would be our second choice, but they really, really want to be in Broken Top. So 2,500 square feet or less and up to 1.5. And they're cash buyers.
Well, they have cash buyers. They're king. That's for sure. That's wonderful.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anybody knows of anybody that's thinking about putting their house on the market, please let me know.
Another option again would probably be to try to write letters to people who have single family homes in there that are single level homes that would potentially work for them. I know my husband built 6 homes in Fall Creek, and his basic floor plan was always single level, so gosh, I don't know if those people still own those homes or not. That was a while ago.
Yeah, I did get the names and addresses of all the homeowners. There's 81 homes in Fall Creek, and I've been putting my feelers out. I actually was talking to a neighbor the other day. I went on a walk, and I did learn of one lady, unfortunately, that had a stroke, and we'll be putting her house on the market, but we're just not sure when. So it does pay to talk and communicate with neighbors. So I've been putting my feelers out. So
Perfect.
yep, that's my next step, is to send letters. So thank you,
Awesome.
you guys. Yeah,
You're
thank you.
welcome. Anything else from anybody? Anyone else have haves or wants? Julie?
Yeah. Hey, this is Julie. I have some buyers coming into town, and we're going to try to get some showing set up for Tuesday. They are looking for something minimum 4 bedrooms, minimum 2,000 square feet, family home kind of on they prefer the west side, but they know that might not exactly fit their price point, and their price point is around like $750,000 to $1 million. They would prefer some sort of a yard, but sorry, transferring to my cell phone. They prefer some sort of a yard, but even if it's a smaller yard, as long as it feels big, sometimes that's the case, or it backs up to an open space. So that would also be fine. So yeah, let me know if anybody has anything like that. They'd be open to other areas of town, but maybe like if it's not west side, maybe southeast, something like that. And then I have a listing that's going to be going live next week. It's 20807 King Hezekiah Way. We're going to list it at $599, which is a pretty competitive price for the neighborhood. I think just down the road, there's one that went up for $850 and another one pending for $899, but it's a bit smaller than those homes, so that's why we're listing it a little bit less, and it's also in the corner of 15th. It's 1648 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 bath on an acre. Primary is on the main. The home was built in 1977. Super cozy, unique. It has a wood fireplace, lots of options for storage, and they did some remodeling, new septic tank in 2019, and the lines were serviced in 2014. It's got a metal roof, heat pump, AC, all that stuff. So let me know if anybody has any interest.
Hey, Julie,
Wonderful.
is there a RV garage or shop with that house?
It's a 2-car garage, but no extra large space
Okay,
for an RV, but you could definitely, I mean, it's a full acre, so you could build
yeah,
whatever you want on it. But
okay.
yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't come
I
with
got
that.
someone in mind. I got someone in
Okay,
mind.
perfect.
Great. Love that. Anyone else have anything? Okay. If not, I hope you've all had a chance to send in your RSVP for the holiday party on the 3rd of December. Looking forward to seeing people. We just need to solidify all that so we order the proper amount of food. If you have any other questions or anything, I'll be sending everyone the link to this shortly. I'll probably be writing a blog also about this slide right here, the one we were talking about. This one here about buying a $500,000 home in Bend. Why now is still a good time, even with a higher interest rate. And I think that's something to really think about. So if there's nothing else, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.